home. So let's get right to it. Would you please call roll?
Absolutely. Chairman Farley?
Here.
Kevin Daniel?
Here.
Christy Duran?
Here.
Mary Griffin?
Here.
Michelle Romero?
Here.
Connie Martin?
Here.
Michael Mumford?
Here.
Patty Ortiz?
Here.
Chuck Owsley? Here. Mariah Pepe? Excused at this point. Alfred Petros? Bob Rail? Here. Cheryl Ravens?
Here.
Leroy Salazar?
Here.
B. Shell?
Here.
John Taylor? Here. All counted except for one.
Great, thank you. All right, hopefully you have a chance to look at the proposed agenda. Before we adopt it, there's one additional thing we need to do, which relates to the document that you have in front of you. So I would insert, before we get to the new business under Roman 4, insert old business, which would be the approval of minutes. In the future, we'll try and have the minutes circulated in advance of the meeting. To make this more efficient, so apologize for that. So with that addition, are there any other changes to the agenda from anyone?
Can we add something? To add some feedback we got from our survey and our.
Yeah, let's, where do you think we should do that? Should we do that before or after our consultant? Preference? Maybe?
After.
Okay. All right, then we'll also insert feedback from the faculty between, again, let's do it this way, after 4B and before 4C. Okay? Any other changes? All right, then without objection, we'll take it as amended. So, moving into the meeting business. Actually, that's why we're going to do the old business first. So the draft, the meeting minutes from our previous meeting, we take just a moment to kind of look those over. I think we already have one change to that, which was Michelle wasn't listed as present. You were present, right? So we both think she was present.
Do you have any more copies of these?
Sorry?
John.
Sure that you and John.
Thank you. Any extra copies of the agenda, by any chance? That's okay.
I don't. I'm working on it. I'm here, so that's all right.
How about that?
Are there any changes to the minutes? Other than one we would have done already? Yes, once. Twice. All right, and we will accept the minutes as amended. Good. All right, so both of the meeting today, we are talking with our consulting firm. A note on this a couple of weeks back. And so I'm very pleased that we have with us Camilla Literate, President. We also have Hope Johnson on the phone.
Yes, I'm here, yes.
So we're both here. And I thought we'd start off by first on to tell you a little bit about where they're coming from in this process, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of constructing an announcement for our presidential search. So after that, I review.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. I'm going to do just a brief introduction of who I am, and then I'll ask Hope to introduce herself. I am Camilla Literate, and I am an alum of Iowa State University, Colorado Navy, Severance Valley Navy, born and raised in August, and pleased to live in. I have to tell you, I'm so delighted that I could be part of this process. I've worked with Hope for 3 years, and I have been involved in searches at 3 different universities that I have been an officer at those universities as a dean. My positions have been at University of Colorado, Denver, Colorado State University, University of New Mexico, but I actually started with Pikes Peak Community College. So I bring both search experience from the standpoint of working with Hope's firm, Hope is the CEO, and then search experience having chaired search committees of office level positions at various universities and also certified search committees. And I am particularly pleased to be part of this particular process and look forward to working with all of you, the Paul's chair, and have to already applaud James for his fast action. I will be doing some interviews the next 2 days and also phone interviews. So that's pretty much in a nutshell who I am. I do teach the PhD program at Simmons College in Boston, and have been adjunct at the University of Denver and also University of California State in San Jose, both in online blended programs, which is face-to-face and online, as well as face-to-face. Hope, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. First of all, I want to reiterate what Camilla has said. We are just thrilled and honored to be a part of this group. And I have this fancy title of President and CEO, which basically means that the rubber stops with me in terms of the company. But I launched this executive search firm about 12 years ago, and we are woman-owned and certified. We're GSA scheduled, and we've done president and CEO searches across the country for all types of institutions, including academia, nonprofits, trade associations, corporations, small entrepreneur organizations. So we feel very comfortable in working with you in terms of our skill set. And just an added tidbit of information, Camilla was a client, and our relationship, you're probably wondering, I'm in Virginia and she's in Colorado and how we got together. She was a client for a search we did, I'm blanking on the years, but it's more than 10 years, American Library Association, and it was definitely a search to remember, and out of all the challenges that we faced, we became very good friends, and so I'm really honored to have her work with us, and she is just absolutely perfect. I'll be out there this summer, but she's going to have the heart and soul of this search with her. And so we could not be more thrilled to be working with you. And just as a quick aside, I do need to drop off about 5:30, 5:40. If you hear a click, it's not anything that I'm just dropping off. I'm not trying to disturb you guys.
She's also on Eastern Daylight Time. Just so you didn't think we were going to do
You could talk a little bit, you mentioned that there were going to be doing some interviews in the next couple of days. You're right on the schedule.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
you're talking to
Absolutely. We came up with a list of people in various categories that we wanted to interview all here on campus. Great minds think alike, because James then put his list together, and it was basically the same category of people. So I will be meeting with some more board of trustee members, and then the ones I am unable to meet face-to-face, we'll be conducting interviews with them via phone calls. I will be meeting with faculty reps and be talking by phone with student government. Thank you so much. We'll be meeting with the direct reports, and some of them, most of them are going to be on campus. The ones that aren't going to be on campus, I have telephone interviews with. I will be meeting with all the chairs of the departments, and for those of them who will be here, I will be doing full interviews with them. The direct reports, alumni relations, foundation, and vice president for student affairs, vice president for finance and government. I will also be meeting with President Spaldi and athletic directors. So all the direct reports and these other folks that I mentioned. We'll also be meeting with the the head of, the gentleman who's the interim president of classified staff or employees council, and that's Demetrius Steele from Facilities Service. So we have, between James and myself and Paul, looking at the groups, different individuals I'll be meeting with, we're hoping to get again a good sense of their opinions in terms of what they think would make a good president for ASU, asking them a little bit more in terms of their take of the institution, where they would like to see ASU in the future. So I look forward to these. They're literally back to back, all day Tuesday and all day Wednesday, and then hopefully by June 3rd, I will have all the telephone interviews done by then.
I think we're going to try and work connect hope with Joe, since he's in DC and she's in Falls Church.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I didn't know that James and I were happy. I was thrilled to do that. That would be great.
Good.
All right, well, with that, I think we're ready for you to start with, I guess, getting information from this group. So, would you like to start?
One of the things that we want to really clarify is our role as the search consultant. Take this one.
Go ahead, I'll follow behind you.
So we're planning.
See here when you're looking at.
Okay. We want to give you a sense of we see as specified in the RFP. So whoever didn't have access to the RFP, this would be no surprise. But we will be, besides this key meeting with the search committee, and we will have questions we want to ask you. Let's move to the next phase. And the next phase actually is to develop a job description. It's a job description that, based on all the input that we're getting from you today and the input that we're getting from the interviews, we'll put together a draft and then we will run that by the search committee for input. Then once we've got the job description ready to go, we will advertise the job, and there's the next phase is what we call a research phase, and this is actually where we will identify the strategies that we are suggesting in terms of identifying and seeking candidates for the position, and we share some of the tactics that we will use to identify these candidates. The next step is what we call candidate generation, and in this particular phase, we'll solicit people who are interested in the position, we'll solicit nominations, we'll advertise in what we think are probably the best journalism websites and professional association websites to get what we hope is a good pool of candidates. And based on that, we will ask candidates to send their resumes and/or a bio. After we start that phase, we anticipate names coming forward and resumes and bios coming forward. What we will do is we'll look at the resumes and the bios and really see if there's a good match. The idea for us is to facilitate the search for the committee and to help Paul, the search committee chair. But what we'll do is take the job ad, take the characteristics that we're hearing from people in terms of what they want for president, and then select folks to do phone screens. Based on those phone screens, we may do in-person interviews. This would be helping out myself. In-person interviews to again narrow down the same candidates. We'll look at we'll provide you folks with an in-depth picture of the candidates, their employment, good sense of their higher education philosophy,
Right. So will you be providing us with updates of, here's everybody who's applied, and here are the ones we screened and don't think
Yeah,
will?
yeah,
So we'll get to see the entire universe along with the recommendations.
Correct.
Right?
yes, yes. If you want, let me just jump in a minute. I think our role really is to work with the committee in guiding them through the process. And yes, we do the fund screen, we do the research, we do all of those things, but we also tailor all of this to your particular needs. We have search committees who tell us, look, we hired you to do the job, we do want to interview. So we trust you to give us a slate, a short list, and don't bother us with the other resumes. And then we have other committees who, we want to see every single resume, we want to see every single person who's applied, we want to touch and feel it. And so part of our job in the beginning is to see where you guys processed. And the Camilla's running, we basically work with you through everything. We will keep you informed. We say, you know, we just can't be bothered just to show us your short list of who made it. And yes, we will get process. We fund 9, the others will make the cut because this is the reason why. So we're going to be reading your, sort of what you want and how you want it to unfold initially, and then take it from there.
Okay, my sense is, I have a poll, but would we like to see all the names, or do we want them to?
You mean all the resumes? We can tell you all of it. You mean all the names? All right.
Go ahead. Hang on a second. And you can't see the eye contacts. Give me a second.
Okay.
Give me some feedback. How would you like to proceed on this? In my sense, I guess I'd like to know every supply. Maybe we don't go through each one of their resumes, but at least to know so and so is in the mix and why they're making it work.
Going along with what you're saying, I think if we saw the resumes grouped by the categories which they have put them in, like these are the ones we recommend and here's why, and these are the ones we screen, here's the summary reason why. So we can still see them, but not to best through them all to the same degree. That would be what I would recommend.
Right. I wouldn't want to reinvent the wheel, but I guess I'd always want to be able to say, okay, if you excluded this person, how come?
And just so I can understand the thinking. It might be a good reason, but, you know, the felony conviction is still pending or something. Okay, we know. Is that?
I agree. I like the idea.
All right. Hope, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, makes total sense. Let me jump in a minute, and I apologize if I any body contact, you're right. But the first bit of the phone screen is really factual based. So we're looking at whether or not the person even has the fundamental qualifications. And by that, we're going to look at staff size. We're going to look at why they jumped from place to place. That's why it's factual based. There have been times in the course of doing research where I've eliminated people because I didn't think they had the experience and the complexity of the organization making documentation cases. And the search committee said, oh, we know this person has a great reputation, so on and so forth, we ought to give them a chance. And we'll say fine. So there's never a complete line in the sand, with a few exceptions when search committees said, I can't be bothered. For the most part, there really is a lot of dialogue back and forth as to why people eliminate, why people made it or didn't make it. And we definitely take into consideration someone's reputation. If you tell us, ooh, we don't want this person, I don't care about it, or listen to that. So there is dialogue back and forth. But the way that you describe it, Paul, is fine. I mean, that's easy for us to work with. Trust me, I do these once a month. I've seen a million different models on this. And we're happy to work with whatever works for you guys.
Okay, well, I think we seem to have a general consensus that when in doubt, more is better. Like to know all the names and your recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's okay. At some point, when we, and we will list them, at some point, present to you folks the candidates, again, the in-depth evaluation we've done with the candidates, which would include items like the curriculum history, their assessments of strengths and weaknesses, their post, we'll give you a post-screen report, and then also if we do face-to-face interviews, a report of that. We will also include evaluations of the candidates. If we do we will arrange interviews for the search committee. We will do actually a reference check once we're looking at somebody who is a potential hire, and then make recommendations to you folks, and then that then goes over to the board of trustees.
Let me say, you make recommendations to us, and it goes to the board of trustees.
That would be like the candidate presentation. Here's the candidates that we're recommending.
So this group's going to recommend a short list of this.
Right. But based on what we present to you, yeah. Oh, do you have anything to add?
No, I think that's great. So just for summary, as we get into it, step by step, I know you guys should. Does anybody on the search committee have questions?
Yeah, Rob?
Do you by any chance have a pool of prospective candidates for these kinds of variety of positions?
I'll answer that because I'm going to jump in.
Sure.
We have found, I've been in search. I've worked with multinational firms. I've worked with small boutique firms, and I launched my company 12 years ago. What we found overall is that clients do not want a database. Okay, I'm just going to be really honest, and you may be rolling your eyes. I can't see you. What we found is most effective is for basically quote unquote go after people. So yes, we potentially have candidates that of course, if they're qualified or of interest to you, we're going to share with you. But no, we are not working off of a database, and that's very intentional on our part because it's really driven by what clients want. We're typically going after what I call passive candidates who are probably employed, happily employed, and we, so to speak, entice them with an opportunity. Like Camilla mentioned advertising, most of the strongest candidates do not come from advertisement. All that being said, particularly in a public institution like this, or an institution that's widely known, it's usually a good idea to at least advertise in one place. But it's probably not going to be where your strongest candidates come from, I'll have to be honest, and that goes with the database. So that's why I wanted to jump in and get to that. So we're going to give you anybody we have in a while, but we're really going to go after people for you based on what you want and what you're looking for and what your needs are.
Follow-up question.
Out of curiosity, just with the school our size and our circumstances, realistically, at its broadest, what size of pool of candidates are we looking at for the winnowing process begins? I'm just curious because I really have no sense of.
I could not hear the question.
He was wondering, given the institution we are, our nature of the institution, what is the size of the pool that we can anticipate?
Interesting question, and I don't have a firm answer for it, but let me just give you some sort of experiences I've had in the past year with some searches that I've done nationally, and some are in rural areas. And in each situation, these are all presidents and CEOs, retiring situations. In each situation, they were uncertain as to whether or not people would be interested, and were concerned about the pool. So basically, in those situations, we probably reached out to anywhere from 200 to 300 or 400 people, and that's by firm. I'm not counting the advertising part. In one case, we got 25 or 30 names. In another case, we got 11. But in every case, they were really unthrilled with the end result. So I don't think you can anticipate hundreds of applications. And again, I'm not talking about the advertising part. but you're probably going to get anywhere from 15 to maybe 40, 50 resumes from people who we solicited by sort of nudging them to apply. But I have to tell you, I've also done searches where we've only gotten 10 resumes. So I hope the committee does not get too hung up on the number of resumes, but the quality of resumes is what you should be looking, what hopefully you will look at.
Okay, and what we'd like to do is just kind of move on to getting a sense from you folks. And we've come up with some questions, and questions kind of go from the very broad to a little bit more narrow focus. And this is our opportunity to get a sense from you folks, as individuals, as members of the search committee, what you want with the candidates, but also to get a sense of the institution. So what I'd like to do is pose some of these questions, and we'll take notes as you share your responses with us. So the first thing that we're talking about is the vision for Iowa State University. And this is very broad, but we want your opinion as search committee members. You know, where do you hope that you want the new president to take Iowa State? I mean, if you think in the broad sense, you get a new president, where do you want this person, him or her, to take it to the institution?
I'll start out with just one key thing. I think we need to make sure Iowa State remains a viable financially in the future. There's a work in hoping to provide the leadership that we need to make sure this institution stays is here and strong 30 or 40 years from now.
Yes.
So they can later go on to provide leadership for good development work.
Good.
You know, this might be a perfect time for the survey, or at least. So what we did was, and this was faculty and staff, didn't have students or community members. So we held a round table. We had about 70 people. And so 70 folks came, we posed 3 questions. Folks were at, they broke out and spoke about them. And if you want to take one down, pass it around. And then what we did with all the responses from those 70 is we tried to group them into common themes. We then sent out a survey. We just sent out Wednesday, I think, so we've only gotten 4 days, but 153 responses. Now, I think, based on what we were just starting to talk about, there's probably going to be a lot of overlap with anybody to add to the list. And so we asked almost exactly like your question.
Okay.
So the one is the next ASU president should have held, and that was the credentials. Then the next ASU president should have knowledge and or experience with blank, and then you can see the list that faculty and staff generated, and then what they had voted. I think with this one was their top 8. Then we asked the next ASU president should have the following abilities and skills, and I think that was select your top 5. What are 8 current issues that ASU is facing and wants to be addressed by the next president? Again, with the numbers and the percentages based on survey. And then what are the 5 tasks that the new ASU president must do in the first 90 days? Now, what I thought was the most interesting is the 3 to 6 pages of open-ended comments. That I think gets into a lot of the heart of things that, and again, we faculty, staff, no students and community members.
Please, could you send the document to Paul? So,
Yes, yes.
or somebody.
Okay.
Paul, which gets a copy of this. Thank you. This will be extremely helpful. And then we'll take a much closer look at this. But we still would like to get a sense of what the committee is before, I think we were, thanks a lot, because I'm not surprised by Mr. saying would like to see. Anybody else? Who would you like the new ASU president to take the institution?
Your dream, guys. A dream for ASU.
My name is Al. Go ahead. My name is Alfred, and I'm the student representative on the committee, excuse me. And first, I want to apologize for not being there. I'm at an internship here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But having surveyed a few of my peers, one thing that we strongly look for is someone that is enthused to leave our university just as much as our students are enthused to attend the university. We need to develop the energy that goes throughout the campus, that people want to be part of that. We market the great stories to get here, but it's a top-down effect. So if we can get an individual who is enthused about that idea and loves the area, the community, the culture, but the university itself, that is something that the students are looking for. And one is that an individual that obtain that quality is someone who can flex between all of the different programs on campus, between the SNAP and science building, again, HGC, business, art, just be very diverse, but be that uniting and that unifying factor the university needs.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay, because we're a teacher training institution, I would like to see someone that could take that premise to a highly exemplary status, top of the line teacher training institution by virtue of it also being and having a high percentage of Hispanos and multi-ethnic enrolling students. So, which would then transfer to perhaps a second question is that, but let me not lose that. I really want to see what we can do about really enhancing that level of teacher training. I was at a San Luis Valley superintendent's meeting last, and I asked her about this, and that was one of the things that came out, indicating that we need to ensure that the faculty and staff in that department has the experience of being a teacher or is, really involved in that process. So that is extremely important. And again, because of the high Hispano serving institution, moniker, if you will, that how do we ensure the successful completion of high enrollment and high completion? How do we bring those two things together so that they can be done? I don't know, did I make my question clear?
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't disagree with any of the stuff that's been said today, but in addition to that, I feel like the leader of the college needs to be highly engaged with the business community collectively in our valley. Because we're a small community and because we have so few large businesses, there's a responsibility we play as larger businesses in contributing to the greater not only economy but the greater business partnerships, and having that person be involved. I think with the other businesses and very active in understanding their critical role to the economy in the valley would be a key component too.
Sure. So I would like to see, first and foremost, someone committed to the mission of a public institution that's a 4-year liberal arts resident campus, taking into all the special characteristics of our campus and our growing online component. But first and foremost, committed to the historic mission of a 4-year public liberal arts college. Secondly, someone who is able to develop a public presence throughout the state representing Athens State University, because I think to a large degree, we are largely unknown throughout the state, and we need someone at the head who can be a figure that can represent us in a variety of ways. And I would also add in somebody who's willing to be a warrior for higher education, because we desperately need one, not just coming out of CU Boulder, but from our side of the state as well. So those would be three things I throw into the mix.
Thank you very much.
One thing I'd like to add that basically echoes what the comments in this handout that we've spoken, to have in the next step to be aware of the difference between an Hispanic serving institution and a Hispanic enrollment institution. Be sure that we are Hispanic enrollment institution, so be sure that we are properly serving our Hispanic students in the population. As well as first generation.
Another component that came across in the survey, as well as other conversations I've had, is not only being able to relate to an institution, like we've said, and the type of school we are, but also can come to the table with some vision and some knowledge about the general trends in higher education and how the typical student is changing and how the market is changing, and help kind of navigate those waters that are a little bit unclear at this point. And technology plays a role in that, changing how classes are taught may have a role in that. So someone can bring that fresh perspective, but yet still understand who we are and what makes us who we are.
I think that I'd like to see a president that is welcome to thinking outside of the box. Oftentimes, I know that we're a very manageable science campus, that if we brought an idea that may not seem the norm, but I think it's just worthwhile trying things like that. Being in admissions, millennial generation that we often read about, they want things very personal to them. And so I think it's important that we don't just provide classroom instruction, but other outside classroom learning opportunities. And so very much so, parents and students that we talk to are wondering what's the value of this education. And so we have to focus on, our next president will focus on as well, the value of an education here at Athens State that would separate us from others.
I believe it might have been Connie that mentioned that our next president needs to develop great and strong relationships with the business community. And I don't know who else mentioned that we need to get ourselves recognized around the state as a public institution. But another thing I think we need to do is get a president that is going to make a name not only for Athens State, but also develop relationships with businesses across the state, maybe even this part of the country. Because when we can identify who Athens State is, as a student, I recognize that that opens up a lot more doors of employment opportunities, which would then go back as an alumni. I would then be supporting my institution because I know how well it helps me to secure my career, essentially why I'm investing in my education in Athens State.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we need a president who will recognize that as long as we're getting 100% of our revenue from tuition and from state support, that we're always going to have financial troubles, that you need the third leg of private fundraising to balance the other two. Enrollment's going to go up and down, and when we have board meetings where we talk about, well, people will only get a raise if enrollment goes up. That's not a sustainable line. We have to be able to raise private dollars, and we haven't done that.
I was just
just going to elaborate on the notion of a vision. I think we need a more defined vision, and I would say from what people are saying around campus, it's not really clear. And maybe the new person could come in as a strong leader and reach out to, including the greater San Luis Valley, not just focus on Alamos, or reach out to the entire valley, because a lot of our graduates stay in this region. They've got ties here, whatever that might be. But I think more of a discussion needs to be held with all the parties involved to say, what do we do well and what do we not do so well, and focus on how to change the not so well.
Thank you so much.
We have been really fortunate to have Dr. Spalding that lead for the last few years. There's the harmony in this institution is much better than it was. And I think when we think about being in any business, any organization, I shouldn't say administrative, because it's more of a leadership thing, but the ability to bring the best out in people, the ability to delegate, the ability to organize, the ability to make sure that things move forward without offending different groups of people. And that means being able to take input from the faculty, the staff that the exam, classified, whoever it might be, but it's like he needs to be able to reach out to the different constituents and bring them into the process and to create a really effective administration technique that Dr. Spalding has been able to do.
John.
I want to go back to something that Dr. Mumford mentioned. I think the idea of fundraising, of establishing a healthy endowment is going to be critical to our success. I think this also will potentially lead to some tension in the job search for the kind of person we're looking for. The academic versus the corporatist model of higher education. And we have needs in both areas. As a faculty member who is recruiting year-round, trying to bring in students, one of the issues I run into, I have students who will not even look at Avid State because of our academic reputation. They look at our ACT scores and others. To not have a PhD as the head of our university will send a message to students and others about how we view academics. On the other hand, we need somebody who's comfortable in business world, can go out and talk that talk and raise money. I'm not sure what I'm actually advocating here, other than I do think we need a PhD. That would be and I think our survey shows that that is an important consideration. But it has to be the right kind of person who values the academic world at the same time as feeling comfortable in the corporate world.
Well, I want to ask you, is a PhD the only way we can measure someone who values the academic world?
I'm not sure, but I know that I wouldn't hire a baseball manager who never played the game. That's my personal take on it, and there is value in that. If we're awarding PhDs, the head of the institution, we would argue, should have the degree that we are awarding at the highest level. It's not the only way to go, of course it's not. But if we have, and I'm not saying that we do have an image problem, but clearly I think we do have an issue about our status as an institution of higher education. We're not viewed on the same level as CU Boulder for a variety of reasons. And I'm not sure we would help that case if we have someone who is a CEO, for example, as opposed to somebody who's worked in the academic world. Whether that is an MFA or a business BFA, not a business, MBA. I don't know the answer, but I think there is value in really looking at that closely. I think there's intention to look, maybe not, but ideally my candidate would have a PhD that can easily walk in the world of corporate America as well.
Board of Trustees sort of did their first shot at identifying the four general characteristics or skill sets we're looking for. And we noted that you want an academic leader, but you also want someone who can do the fundraising. Right. And you want somebody who can talk the talk at the general assembly, right? And then someone who knows how to run an administration. You know, you find someone who can touch all those bases, we hire them. And I think our challenge as we get down the road is, what if somebody touches two of those bases, or only three? How do we deal with that?
Right. So I'm just going to I'd be interested to hear what other people think about that issue, because I think that's one of the key issues we have to decide.
On that note, also, we haven't had much conversation along those lines that we're going to get someone who walks on water. We want to pay them a salary commensurate with that.
Can we afford somebody who walks on?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So somewhere in there, there's going to have to be a balance. I'm sure.
Actually, I would like to advocate that we not put that kind of restriction on the table now, that somebody who would have to have a PhD. Because I appreciate where you're coming from. I live in a different world. But from my perspective, it's way too soon to know whether we should put that kind of restriction on jobs. If we live that in medicine, only physicians would run hospitals, and frankly, there are, I think, a lot of great people who never maybe did the day-to-day stuff, but have developed the skills and the expertise to run huge organizations. Joe Behan never ran track, and he's an exceptional coach at that level. So I appreciate what you're saying. I think it's a key consideration. My advocacy would be that we not restrict the pool that way at this stage of the game.
I agree.
Yeah, I guess one thing to keep in mind in this discussion, which I think has been a very good discussion so far, is that we're talking about job announcement. We're not at the point of reviewing individual candidates. And so, I guess my perspective is, let's cast a broad net. It's most likely to bring the closest to someone who can walk on water, bring as many of those folks to the table.
Paul, can this help? Let me just jump in for a minute. This is your decision, search committee. I'm sorry I can't see all your faces and your names yet, but I will pretty soon. However, I will tell you that I do agree that you should pass the broad net. We've had search committees sometimes be very surprised in terms of who raised their hand. This is a real opportunity for you guys to take it out there. And Paul is right. Down the road you can cut it off as you desire, but I encourage you to open it up wide, because you might be pleasantly surprised who might raise their hand. You might be shocked in a positive way. We've had that happen more than once. So you can, don't cut it off now, I would say, and you can give yourself the opportunity for as many diverse applicants, and you can decide later what you want.
I think you guys wanted to survey what we talked about a little bit in regards to the person appreciating the diversity of the valley. So having this person be equity-minded in that acknowledging that we are who we are. Adams State is a small, rural state institution that's Hispanic serving. We're not some private city in the Springs. And so acknowledging that, not being afraid to say that Adams State is diverse, can be diverse, and embracing, I guess we would say, inclusive excellence. And they can say it, they demonstrate it, their ability to be that 100%.
Anything else?
Yeah, thank you so much for your input. Want to talk a little bit about the ASU strategic plan. We reviewed the plan. We noticed that it went from, I think, 2010 to 2013. And we're not sure where you're at in terms of that process, but we'd like to get a sense from the search committee in terms of what you think of the top strategies that the ASU should be looking towards, and then also what you think the strategic goals should be of the president within a year and 12 months that he or she is here. So we recognize that your plan went to 2013. Not sure where you're at with another plan, but we want your input in terms of what you think the strategic goals should be and what the president should be working on in the first 12 months and within 2 years.
I'll start with a thought. Some of the survey discussion, some other discussion is really focused to me more about, not about the what, but the how, and how we get involvement from every level of the institution. And rather than having it just be a discussion among a smaller group of people, how do we really get to that level where it's fed from within? Some of the things that I've heard people say that within the first 90 days, that was kind of the window we used. This person needs to be very visible to campus and really introduce themselves to Adams State, understand the challenges we have, understand where our strengths are, and for, at least my perspective is, to be able to truly jump into a strategic plan, you've got to know what you have to start with. And so starting with a good, as an inventory of competencies that we have or areas that we have as our strengths, I think that maybe that's more of framing to it than an answer to the question.
Michael, we've been involved in strategic planning, revision of strategic planning.
Yes.
Maybe we can kind of enlighten some.
Not as far as time. I mean, I think we have met a number of times, cabinet planning group. There were a number of sort of campus-wide forums where information was generated, ideas were generated, and so we're at the point of putting that together. And I think that goes into categories. Then we have another meeting to draft a plan, send it out to the campus. I think those are the steps that need to be taken.
Do you recall any particular goals that may have changed between this, where we're headed now? We'll plan things that sort of jump out of the group and say, oh, here's something we have focused on, I think we should do.
Not off the top of my head, but I can certainly make sure that that's certainly where it stands.
I think most of us don't recall the strategic plan, to be honest. That don't see it on a daily basis. You know what I mean? So it's kind of tough to answer that without. I wish James had his projector and could throw it up on the wall. I didn't know. It would be helpful.
Well, just from your point of view, just as a staff member, what would you like the president to come in and start working?
I think from being in the academic side of the house for a long time and seeing what Dr. Taylor touched on a bit about students that can persist and succeed at the college. You know, recruiting, we've got departments recruiting now. It's not just the admissions staff and other people, and athletes and so forth. I mean, recruiting is everybody's business. They just, is a phrase you hear oftentimes, and try to figure out a way where the students that we're bringing in, we have to know to some certain degree that they're capable of the curriculum. And does that mean that we can mentor and tutor them to that level? I don't know how you go about that, and if that would be a strategic goal, but I think it's on everybody's mind. As funding gets shorter, a lot of students are having to take out additional money to pay for school. And we want them to be able to reach that goal in the end and go out and be successful. And I think we do have some problems with where students don't persist because they're just not cut out for 40 degrees. So, and I know that's part of our mission too, to reach out and do that in the valley, within the valleys. The students are underprepared from the local high schools to some degree. But a lot of those students work their way through and want to be, they graduating honors and so forth.
I think that there's a couple things that happen in the first year or 2 years. First, in leadership, I think it's always about the who first. And so once we know the who of the president, then the president's going to need to know the who of the team and the organization and the students. And so that's where I think they should spend a big part of their first year, just understanding the business model that we have today. Because before you can change that business model, or you can improve it, you have to understand it. And so there's a lot that goes into understanding it, which are all the things that we talked about today, the uniqueness of the Valley, the uniqueness of the business community, the uniqueness of the students who come here, what we face politically as well, what we face with fundraising. And so to me, that those would be the areas that the president can make a big impact and will need to spend the first year learning.
Building relationships and maybe listening more than talking.
I guess along that line, you said building relationships. I would want the president to do that at all levels, from the top to the bottom, to the custodians, to include facilities, to go that, all levels of the administration and staff.
If the new president comes in, one question he should ask himself and get an answer immediately from us is, enrollment is increasing at out of state. And you have to ask the question immediately, why? And in my opinion, our athletic programs at out of state colleges actually put this campus on the map. And it has for many years. But I've noticed in the last 4 years, at one time we had 350 student athletes on this campus, and now we have 750. And as he would testify to enrollment, that's 350 brand new students, and they're good students. Their grade languages are quite high. So as a business point of view, I think he's going to have to look at a program, because 1/3 of the student body on his campus is student athletes. And it seems to be working in a large way. For years, we just relied on the running program, which I think we have probably the best in the country at this level. But now, if you bring parents to this campus and they see what we see now compared to 4 years ago, it's quite impressive. We have a South Campus, a North Campus, and now an East Campus. But I think he has to consider where this growth is coming from in the last few years for this university.
Chuck, make sure I understand, are you saying that a good part of that growth is the student athletic program?
Yes, and I think there's figures. You had a graduating class 8 days ago. 23% of those graduates are student athletes. 1 out of 4.
I agree with Chuck. Maybe I want to say one thing that a new leader in this organization needs to start out with really understanding the strengths, the weaknesses of the organization, and where the opportunities are for doing that. I think we've talked about a half training center, which we are, in essence. We talked about some things that really have kept our enrollment that what other institutions are going down now. And we need to understand that and capitalize on that. But just, I think whether we understand the resources you budget, whether we understand the kind of students you have, whether we understand the strength of the faculty, etc. It's a good analysis of that. And the development program that builds on mission traits.
I think that ties into another point you want to touch on here, which is sort of assessment of what are our strengths.
Yeah.
Weaknesses. Okay, this is a good time.
Right. Because I think that's one of the questions that members have in terms of your opinions, your personal opinions, individual opinions. What are some of the strengths as you see it of ASU, and what would you characterize some of the weaknesses? I think Chuck, you've done a good job. I think explaining a few things probably the biggest things. So maybe the right, but anything else? Kind of educated.
I wanted to say something before we
Sure.
that. It would be a good segue, but it's just my personality. I like numbers, and so I think any strategy that the president comes up with the team and the rest of the candidates, I think it's important to have percentages and increase by such and such number, where it's fundraising, retention, graduation rate. I think that that would be helpful for the rest of the campus to have a goal that we all are invested in. So if we have that, I would like to see something like that. Nothing that's too far outreaching there for visions, okay? And also, I think as a very good leader, a good leader makes tough decisions. And so I would like to see more accountability on this campus. And so when we talk about strengths and weaknesses, if there are weaknesses, then we need to have that conversation and process go through cutting ties, with programs that don't work, and really looking at, do we have this because it's always been here? So when we look at strengths and weaknesses, I think the weaknesses are going to come up, and I think we need to hit those head on and really deal with them.
You mentioned accountability, and I think, can you give an example? What would you rather not? I think it's a good point. I think it's a good point, that anyone in a leadership position, there needs to be some metrics. How do we know you're hitting the target? Right. And if you're not, does any we just say, hold up, I'm just learning. So experience.
Sure. I'm sure we all have experiences. For one thing, I think the student fees, the service fees that we tack on and continually increase, I've heard students say, where do those fees go to? And is it better security? Is it better parking? Well, I think that needs to be accountable wherever we're giving money to. And we need to see it. And so that would be one of the areas I think we should look at.
As much as anything, there might be a communication piece. You're going to a battle that since you don't tell us,
right,
it makes us wonder.
Right.
So communication.
And really, see, we focused on evidence-based
right,
instead of, intervening, so that might.
Yes, along the lines of the strengths and challenges, does your company help put together that kind of information to hand out to prospective applicants, the strengths and challenges of the organization?
Hope you want me to take a stab at this one?
I can't really hear, to be really honest. I couldn't hear the question. I'm happy to answer that. I just couldn't hear it.
The question was in terms of an assessment of particularly the strengths and challenges of the institution. Is that something that you all are going to provide to prospective candidates, or is that something that you were looking for us to do?
That's correct.
We can definitely put that together, but I think we're going to put together a position which is based on the results of this conversation, what we've learned, and it will have the attributes that you're looking for personally in a candidate. I don't always like to focus on your weaknesses or anybody's weaknesses, because we're really trying to share the interest in the opportunity. Some of those conversations, some of those points will take place in a conversation. This is a solicitation that we would send out.
And that's why I think I'm putting in the form of strengths and challenges as opposed to strengths and weaknesses. I think that's how we lead the matter of semantics.
Well, and I would also suspect that the people that we talk to that were engaged to become full-fledged candidates are going to ask those questions. So we need to be prepared. And in the interviews, one of the questions that I would be asking folks is, would you consider to be issues, race, strengths, and areas of concern, challenges? I'm like, my weaknesses, year. And hopefully, we'll see if there are any recurring themes that come in. And that will help us, because candidates are going to want to know that.
Well, one thing that comes to my mind is it's a double-edged sword, or two sides of the coin, where I think because of our size, students get a lot of individualized attention and build relationships with faculty in a way that you can't in a larger institution. On the other side of it, we don't necessarily have a lot of bells and whistles that larger campuses have. We don't have the resources in certain areas that you might like. So, and I don't know how you trade those off. I mean, because I think you have students that really enjoy the fact that the individualized attention are not lost at the sea of massive classrooms. So that might be down the line, the things that we're struggling with also related to things that we're good at.
And I think this was really what we're talking about. To me, one of the most important things is that the candidate understands who we are as a rural, small facility and what that comes with. Because oftentimes, I think being able to express to someone, this is who we are and this is who we're not, helps people to identify with that and understand that, if you think you're going to make us a private college for, that only the activities are gifted, that's not who we are. But, can we be better? Absolutely, we can be better. So I think it's really important to me that we be able to express, our identity as a community and what we're looking for. And I also think it's very critical that the person be drawn to living here and being connected to the greater community as a whole. That people who see this as some version of a job they've commuted into, whether they think they've commuted into here for 2 years or they've commuted into here, I'm going to be the president here, I'm really going to be in Denver. I think you may have to travel a lot, you may have to be at meetings, but you've got to emotionally be here. Because if you're not, everybody can feel it, and they know.
I like how you put that, emotion.
You have to be here.
And if your significant other isn't emotionally here,
Then you're not here.
you're not here.
You're not here. Are you afraid that or you're divorced?
Yeah, I agree with exactly what Connie said. And add to that, while understanding where we are and all the strengths that we have here and the opportunities that we do have here, that I want a president who is not going to be afraid to think big. One of my philosophies as a faculty member is that I want my students to have every opportunity possible. I want them to have the kind of opportunities they would have if they went to a bigger university. But I want them to have it here because there are lots of the strengths that come along with it. Big university, you can bring in a big name speaker, for example. But your students, very few students will actually have contact with that speaker. Bring a person here, and the students can actually have access and contact. That's the strength that we have. But we have to think big enough to say we can get the very best here in terms of opportunities and programs and events. And so I want that president to be thinking, I want her to be thinking on that scale that we can try for big things even on a small campus. Because when we do big things on a small campus, they're that much more powerful for our students and for our community.
Yeah, I think what to somebody is a strength, to somebody is a weakness. And so whoever comes in needs to think of who we are, the identity thing as a strength. And that's why how to try to reduce it. We're talking about a lot of the things that have been said here. We have a small class size, we have passionate staff, we're in a rural area. We have great facilities, we have a very diverse population. And that plays a great part of our life. We have a balanced budget, Students get a lot of individual attention, and we serve a community that's, at risk, have students that those are just all descriptors. Other people have said,
What I'd like to do then is kind of get a sense from you in terms of ASU services and programs. And to ask you if you've seen any changes in the last 5 years in either what ASU's offered in terms of services or in terms of programs. And then if you anticipate any of these, the programs you have now changing in the future, to give two personal opinion. Talking about ASU programs and services.
From a technology standpoint, the last 5 years have been extremely fast-paced change. Probably to the tune of 10-fold increase of mobile devices by our students. The expectations of the services that they want isn't what it used to be even 5 years ago. Being able to get help not only face-to-face, but online, 24 hours a day, be able to watch Netflix and listen to Pandora and work on Blackboard all at the same time is an expectation that getting those kind of back to Michelle's point, the millennial generation as they're coming to college. And so I think from that perspective, we've seen a lot of change, and we've had to adapt and really move things around our technology and the budget that we get for that to be more strategic and sometimes not doing what we used to do so that we can accommodate these newer services and things that our students are coming in just expecting.
Five or 6 years ago, we had 3 graduate programs, and we probably had 250, 300 graduate students. Now we have 9 graduate programs, and we have more than 900 graduate students. So enormous growth, and I think it presents a challenge to the campus to figure out how does distance graduate education fit in with the residential campus that we have. What's the priority? What's the relationship? How do we, because we have faculty who are doing some just residential teaching and some just doing online graduate instruction. How do we create a vision for the campus?
From the outside, just looking at facilities, buildings, all of those kind of things, this added facility just really has, in my opinion, added to the stature of the organization. I have to see that continue.
The thing is, it's been a change from college designation to university designation.
Sure.
Just to tag on to what Bob said, along with these additional facilities, our facility services staff has not grown commensurate with the growth of the campus. And maybe these were small things, but like in some key areas, these are things we hear from students, on the front lines. Well, the front line areas are short-staffed because people have left, balancing budget, not able to replace people. So I think that's important that we look at that overall big picture when we think about the budget. People that are able to keep everything neat, tidy, and clean. Right now, the facility staff are working 50 hours a week because we have all these programs that come in this summer. Some of the other buildings suffer. It's a big, long discussion, but I think it's an important point to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, I was agree with Cheryl that I agree with you. The growth on this campus in terms of the physical facilities are just impressive as all get out. I've been here for 15 years and enjoyed seeing the growth, but I do have major concern about our ability to keep the facilities looking like we want them to look. Because students are coming from brand new high schools, and if we don't look as good as their high school, they're not going to look at us. And our facility services are understaffed and overworked in terms of the stuff that if you go 8 years without having windows cleaned as the major architectural feature on our theater building, and you show the students how proud we are of that building, and we are, the windows are coated with dirt, they look at it and say, are you serious about what you're really promoting here?
It's been 8 years.
It's been 8 years. We've had it cleaned twice in the 14 years we've been there. Yeah, but it's taking
You're talking about
first impressions. So that's one way we've really grown, but our ability to maintain that is going to be challenging.
Those are the challenges.
These
it's not only the outside of the buildings, and my perspective is only 3 years, but what I've noticed grow, and I can talk for Porter and HPPE, is the technology that we have with regards to what the students are getting their hands on. So now the biology, chemistry, the new STEM stuff, the stuff that I do in the human performance lab, you can't get that stuff in a school our size anywhere in the country.
I have a number of credits settled in, but some of them, just please remember my perspective is from being a business partner really in the community. So I think one of the things that's grown here in the past 5 years is the number of international students. I think that really impacts the diversity of the campus and the experience not only for those students, but those around them. The graduate programs have been huge, and they've been huge because of what they contributed to out of state, but they're huge for the greater economy in our community, because it opens up a whole new window of opportunity for people already in the working world to be able to continue their education and grow and contribute back. I think while there's a number of people who don't take advantage of it from the distance, there are a lot of local people who take advantage of it here, and it matters to organizations like ours at the hospital. I think the what I want to call the cultural experiences, when we sell this community to physicians and people that we recruit, we often talk about the fact that you can see a national class athletic event, you can see quality theater, you will experience music. Those are things that the greater community enjoys and can benefit, and really changes what people who look at our community as a place to live and thrive think about us. The nursing program has added a tremendous amount to our community and has made certainly a difference in our workforce. Those are really important things. And I think the addition of adding the doctoral program in counseling and certainly the MBA with for us, particularly in healthcare, health administration, those are unique things that set us apart. And so, to me, those are all very valid strengths that have came over the past few years.
And did I read somewhere, so the PhD in counseling is already, what's in the plan?
Starts in the fall.
Okay, that's good. And then the health administration program?
It's like emphasis in the business department. I should be
We have an MBA program that has a number of specialty areas. Healthcare administration is one specialty. So you can get an MBA and specialize in healthcare administration.
And then did I not read somewhere about developing a higher education PhD program?
We have a master's degree in higher education administration. I don't know that there's any talk about a PhD.
Maybe yes.
Just another strength in its community now that Connie's been talking about that. I moved here in 1985 from, lived in an urban setting too, but you can walk to work here, your neighbors, your kids can go outside and play. I mean, all those things about a small community are really appealing to an outside candidate. We can't overlook that piece of time. Because you know your neighbors, the person that runs the bakery down the street. Yeah, right. But I mean, you see your physician in the grocery store and they ask, how are you doing? I think that's one of the huge points we need to include in the conversation as a strength of Adams is community.
I think maybe some of you, and I'm going to say Connie, I think you kind of, I would characterize some of the programs that you were talking about in terms of growth. Would you consider those also the more innovative programs within the ASU? And then, does anybody want to share what you think it probably is an innovative program service here at CSU? Connie, do you have any something?
Well, I think there's a lot of innovative stuff, but I think when you're in a rural community, probably innovation is a characteristic that we should list as a strength. Because, when this happens in healthcare, and I'm sure it happens in education, and that is that you have to think broad about what you can do or what you can be, because narrow is too exclusive. And so, I think we've all listed, a number of areas where We have been innovative and we have been excellent.
You know, in sciences, we got this STEM grant, and
Yes.
one of the things that we capitalized on is Ontario. So in the last 5 years, we've had that renovated, lots of programming that's available to community members. And there will be an observatory that's being built on campus. It's also going to be really great. It's actually small, our university.
You know, another popular thing I heard, it's like 700 veterans or students who are somehow tied to GI Bill or something. I mean, that just, I don't know, Jess, did you, I know it's been talked about.
Yeah, the Board of Trustees has talked about that as an opportunity.
Yeah.
So to get this 700, that's the, that includes spouses or parents or children. So people who have a reasonable claim to GI Bill.
So we're talking about trying to reach out more to that community, because I don't know if we've really tapped into it the way we could have.
So, maybe you see that as some a process for the future, reaching out to veterans and supporting.
It's an opportunity to strength. I think that speaks well to our first generation, you know, how we try to encourage first generation students, low income.
An innovative project that I'm working on is the Myers-Briggs project. We finished the first year, and the administrators graciously helped us fund for next year as well. But it is a tool to assess the entire freshman class and to track who will stay, who graduates, which types do better in certain majors. And we're really, really excited about it. I can talk more about it in a lot more detail. How to include that.
Did you get outside external funding for that? Well, that would be very interesting research now to share. Okay, so you're starting with the freshman class.
The freshman class, 2013, we just finished with them. But we are partnering with CPP, which is the publisher of the Myers-Briggs.
You can use that in some of the things too.
Speaking as an introvert, the last one you know.
Any more on yes, there's another thing that should be mentioned is the Upper Down program that's ending now in the next few weeks, where they bring in high school students to experience living experience living on campus and of course taking classes, which I think is valuable to the other students. And hasn't this Upper Down program been funded by for a long time? Yes. So this is the same program. Understanding this is the TRIO program, right? That Upper Down was part of, right? I'm not sure that the TRIO was there. Upper Down is
I think, you know, one of the things that Adams has done in the last few years is make more friendly to first generation Hispanic students to the CASA program. Yeah. The CASA program does a really good job of creating a comfort zone for students who maybe more like home culture or whatever, but also actually voice study with their peers and think that that's really performance. So really good.
and that is sustained with university funds?
Yeah, so that's.
Or is that external?
No, we pay for ourselves.
Excellent. Excellent. So you folks integrated, infused that into that. That's awesome.
It really helps our local students because they don't have a place to study between classes and they can and along the lines of the upward down, one of the things STEM grants brought in the STEM Academy that we have every summer. And we bring in the top high school students, about 20, for one week intensive program. And that has expanded into STEM Saturdays that we do around 12 fall and spring. And that ages from, I think it's 4th graders to 12th graders.
And does the academy also cover 4th to 12th graders?
No, the summer academy is high school students. And like freshmen, sophomores,
when you say the top 20, are you talking about schools?
Yeah, so we have schools, counselors, and teachers nominate students, and we invite them to apply, and then interview throughout the valley. And then there's
And for that, do you have data that identifies how many of those students over the years come back?
this is new. This is only we're doing our third one.
Okay.
One of the things I think we do better than maybe any other university that I've seen is innovative community partnership and outreach, particularly with local nonprofits. For example, the theater program partnering with San Luis Valley-wide Health Systems and the Puente Home, we've raised over $300,000 in 6 years for the homeless shelter, their annual holiday production. And there are many others across campus as examples of that, but that's a real strength. It goes to what we do as a university and the values of our university, as well as the fact that we are in a smaller community, because you can develop those kind of partnerships. And they can be very effective and integral to the life of the campus, as well as those community organizations. And once that bond happens, it's a real strong bond that speaks to the quality of life here as well.
Have you gotten external funding to develop those partnerships and programs?
They mainly happen through getting together and part of the face-to-face contact is being neighbors with somebody who is running Valley-wide or with Puente and your kids are in school together, and those things start to happen and they become tradition and they become part of our mission as well.
And we're on the same wavelength today. But I would venture to say that every department on campus does some sort of outreach to the community without external funding. Be it, there's Judges for Knowledgeable, History Fair, we have Arts Extravaganza in the Art Department. I mean, almost every, I would say every department on campus, as you're talking about with the Boys and Girls Fundraiser, through theater, or bringing students on campus for these experiences through the local schools. So we really do need somebody to raise funds. We do have some external funding to get those marks that everybody's talking about to really, put those bells and whistles that we need in place along with it. I mean, the staff here, I think, are one of the greatest resources that the state has. Everybody has personal interest in the success of the schools.
The only other one I was going to mention is, in years past it was called CELF, it's now called CLA. There's, at least in the last 5 years, that I've really been trying to be more involved, more about inclusivity, diversity, equity issues, providing opportunities for professional development for faculty and staff along those lines. It's been incorporated more into our website. There's been a lot more discussion about how important that is on a college campus, and so I think that's something that can continue to grow, but has grown quite a bit fast.
Just as a follow-up, that I was on the first board here in 2003 or 2004, and I look at the face of that state and faculty and all, I see a lot more diversity than anything. See some real positive trends in that sense. You find that more diversity.
I have to tell you that I was absolutely impressed by the mission statement of the 2010-2015 plan, because it focuses on diversity and the richness of not only Adams Bay, but also the Adams and Sandals Valley. I mean, it focuses on it, and that just told me a lot. So you hit upon online education programs, and we need to get a sense, is that growing? I know maybe somebody mentioned that graduate programs, some of them are online. Is that growing like pretty rapidly? And I also noticed that there were, for professional development, there were a lot of, at least in the strategic plan, at least proposed efforts for the development, helping faculty, department chairs, et cetera, to really understand the techniques for good online education, et cetera. Anybody want to share a little bit about where you're thinking that online education is going? And these are kind of little because you're not.
I have two fully online programs. So
Undergraduate, grad, or
graduate.
Okay.
But there's so many now.
Yeah, almost all of our graduate instruction is online. Except for art. And a little bit of teacher ed, so. Oh, yeah, yes.
Michael, are those blend programs, or they?
It depends.
Depends on them. Okay, good.
But they're all more online than on campus.
Sure.
And so that's been growing. Undergraduate has been growing less quickly, but more quickly than on campus. We traditionally have done a lot of online professional development for teachers and counselors, folks working in school systems. And we are moving steadily that professional development from face-to-face format to online. So I would say those are the three areas where we're seeing growth.
So that increase from like 300 graduate students to 900 graduate students, a lot of that is due to the online component. Any more input on programs and services? If not, I'd have to move on to
And I think we've mentioned facilities and athletics and stuff like that, but I think a big part of the health organization the last few years has been the athletic programs, the new sports is, that's
okay.
Nice to see them grow.
So new sports programs?
There's 10 new sports programs in the last 4 years. That's amazing.
Wow, that is. I want to get now to sort of more of the operational part of the role of president, and I think you've hit on some of this, but and Paul also mentioned that the Board of Trustees identified 4 areas that they wanted this candidate to hopefully come in as with experience in that. One of them is the effective management and administration experience. The second was academic leadership. The third one was political skill, and then the fourth one was developmental advancement, maybe fundraising. And then I also read, and Dr. says today, that with the Board of Trustees, probably 3 and 4 are the ones that there's a sense that there's somebody who needs to come in with those particular strengths. So given those four characteristics or experiences, what do you think, again, as search committee members, what do you think that we might look at that's different in a candidate?
But Camilla, I have to, excuse me for looking at the drop off.
Okay.
I have to drop off. But to the search committee, I just want to say it's been so exciting to listen to all of your thoughts and aspirations for ASU, and we look forward to finding just your perfect candidate for you. So I will check back in with Camilla and Paul and find out the rest of the discussion. Thanks so much for letting me be part of it.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, bye.
So the question was, what do you see that we would be looking for in terms of a candidate that's different, that would actually enhance, the president's success here at ASU?
Would you list those 4 categories again?
Yeah. Administrative experience, basically management and administrative experience. Academic leadership is the number 2. The third one was political skill and experience, and then the fourth one was strong development experience, meaning fundraising. And then I read in the document, and then I also heard here today, the third and fourth ones are, the third and fourth areas of experiences with the Board of Trustees is really hoping that we can bring in the president.
And I sketched this out in one of my notes to the campus. I'll speak briefly. Our sense on, it seemed like major challenges and major things we want this person to do fall in one of those four general areas. And we kind of highlighted the latter two, not because inherently they're more important, but because we thought it might be easier, let's say you get your best candidate, whoever that is, it might be easier to complement weaknesses in those areas with expertise that exists in the institution. For example, if someone is not particularly adept or experienced administrator, but we have people who understand finance and understand physical. If they don't have a strong academic background, we certainly can bring that to the table to support that person. If someone doesn't have good political sensibilities, doesn't know how to talk the talk with the legislature, with the governor's office, anything, that is a tough one for OJT. You know, that is a tough one. I mean, I'll say it from my own experience. I'm not that kind of person. I'd be lousy at that, but I've known so many in my career. Those people walk in the room, everybody's attention zeroes in on them because they bring that, right? And so that's why we kind of set up that hierarchy. But again, it's going to all depend on the applications that we get.
So the question in terms of getting your individual opinions is what other characteristics, different than what have been identified in terms of experience, would you like to see in your ASU president?
Or can you break those down?
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are all pretty broad.
For me, I think it's going to have to be someone who is very relationship oriented, who can really look at anybody on campus and create a conversation of whatever kind is appropriate at the time. And yes, that's our challenge, but that's the kind of relationship that is going to be essential. Like I said, whether it's administration, you've already got the people in the finance, or exactly, I mean, no one person is going to be into the STEM, into the athletic, into everything, you know, and so all of those things, I think. So in developing that relationship, and that's a unique kind of relationship for a multi-ethnic institution who has all this diversity and has all these programs that we all have high expectations of and for. It's not going to be an easy challenge, but let's hope we can find it.
Well, based on your response, let me be more specific. Are you hoping that we find we need a search committee and somebody that would be more externally focused than internally focused? And I always hate to, sometimes that's what an institution is looking for. And I heard you sort of say you've got to.
It's going to have to be a balance. You know, there's no question about it in my mind. It just, I'm a retired school superintendent and public school superintendent, and the relationship process is the most important aspect of that whole process, and I'm carrying it forward, to the adult level, and I see that is going to be, in my opinion.
I agree. I think it's going to be a real mix of internal and external, not one over the other. But what I would say is we probably need someone who is more externally oriented than our previous presidents have been.
Well, I was just going to point out on the survey that you have, I mentioned that was one of those, but like the top 4 under knowledge, skills, abilities,
yes,
etc. Not one of the top voters having anything to do with that external connection. It is more about that internal ability. So I think that's just a snapshot of the campus, but I just wanted to point that out.
Anybody else? I certainly hope that your own interviews and possible face-to-face interviews with these candidates, that you're able to assess that they have heart in education. And so, I often look at my own personality and working here for 7 years, my personality of, I want to fix things. So, of course, we want someone to come and fix our problems and do all that wonderful thing. But at the heart of it, the reason why I come to work every day is because of students. And so we need someone that believes that any student can come and get a higher education. I read so many articles about, despite so many obstacles that some of these students have, they're still able to make it. And so that's the heart of out of state, is everyone being invested and believing in that. So our leader needs to have that response. I hope that comes across when you interview.
I think that whomever needs to be able to touch all four of these bases, that may have to be strong in one or the other. I'd be reluctant if somebody said, I don't know nothing about academics, or I don't know nothing about fundraising, or I don't know, I mean, that's going to be a problem. So, and as we were talking here, looking at it, looks like there were four things we were talking about. Two of them are cognitive internal, and two of them are external. So I think the answer is they need to be able to cover. I mean,
Walk on water.
Yeah, in fact, walking on water.
And here in the valley, they can do it like 4 months out of the year. On high, walk on high.
Any other comments on that? If this is a question that we're going to ask, please. Is there a president that you're aware of another institution that you think would be a good role model? One of the things we will be doing is we will be asking folks for nominations also. We're hoping that each of the search committee members submit names for us to pursue. But is there anybody that you're aware of that serves as a good role model for a president, university president?
When I was, I came from most recently State University of New York, Fredonia, and the VPAA, right when I had left, she had just been named as president of Fredonia. And she's just an amazing communicator. And I think what I appreciated about her is that she's very down to earth. But all the things that we have listed, it's because of her personality and her ability to communicate and listen, makes her able to do all of the other things. Fundraise, talk to the government, and alums, students, very student-centered. I just don't think she's jaded yet, so she's
Yeah. Okay. That's
she is, yeah.
Anybody else? Well, Leo.
No, we keep hearing, and I'm not sure I've met them, but we hear stories about DU and Denridge. And the kinds of things, turnarounds, with engineer with DU. And then we hear about Regis, some of the tough times years ago. There wasn't fathers there, but anyway, managing. It's like they've been able to turn around, to create enthusiasm, to balance budgets, to create programs, to move things to a different level. I'm not sure what I was doing those guys better. It does something.
I'm going to wish you things. But enjoy your time. Yeah.
We've got about 15 minutes to go, and I do want to respect everybody's time. 4 o'clock is my hard stop, but we'll be when it diminishes returns, the longer we go. Now, I did want to ask you, I know you wanted to talk about how we measure the success of the president. I'm wondering if we could table that for our next meeting. Do you need that in order to create an analysis? Right? That's more like who you're going to hire, who you're going to tell them you're hiring. So if we take that and kind of push that off.
About that internal, external balance. I think you can't underestimate how difficult the remoteness here is. And so if you're if you're the president of Metro, you can walk across the street to all of the president's meetings and go to the legislature every day and keep up with things and do your job on campus. Here, someone's really got to be committed to doing the travel because you can't listen on the phone and participate in quite the same way. Build the relationship. So it's not just committed to being at the meetings, but committed to putting in the travel time and putting together the schedule to get there to build the relationships. And it's not just Denver. I mean, you want to go to meetings in Washington, you got to go to Denver to get to Washington. So.
I'm glad you did mention that. Anybody else? Okay, yeah, in terms of recruiting, hopefully this will be something that you can really appreciate. What would we hear out in the streets? What would we as consultants, if you have a background in alumni, in terms of what's good about ASU and what's not so good about ASU? That is, how people perceive, out in the streets, how people perceive ASU, both in a very favorable light and then also maybe not so favorable.
I think, for one, I think from the Hispano standpoint, you speak with the Hispanos, my kid would have never been able to get started in terms of higher education without Iowa State. That's very likely. That was me.
High school council said, color, make a good good. So that's part of the good. What would you characterize, what might be, what's not so good about ASU externally, perception?
Let me think about it.
Okay.
Let's put it in its proper.
Like,
And Michelle probably knows this better than me, but the areas in Denver and Colorado Springs or Collins and Boulder where the state is growing, that's where you need, we can talk about Colorado has a growing population, but it's not the rural. The rural population is rapidly shrinking. The state is growing across the Front Range, the northern part of the Front Range. And we have to be able to compete there, and we have too many counselors in those high schools who tell people, if you can't get in anywhere else, come to us. You want to go to CU if you can't get in there, go to CF, well, you want to go to D. Can't get to D, go to C. Can't get in there, go to CSU. And after that, at the very bottom, if you're over now,
appreciate your practice.
That's true. So, and in addition, so counselors will say to a student that maybe needs remedial work, the State will take care of you. So it's kind of a tracking, right? And so we would much prefer them to give us to send us their top students. So our office has worked hard in trying to change that perception, bringing them here on campus, spending the money to wine and dine them in a sense to show them our best. So that really takes them to come here to campus, and that's hard.
I understand that perspective, and I certainly hear it in the greater community, but I really live a different perspective. And, in the athletic program, and particularly my husband's athletic program, he has a choice of best guest, and oftentimes he will look for the, not necessarily the top runner or the individual star, but he'll look for that second, third place, people who are looking for just somebody to believe in them and give them a chance and expose them to something different. So while I recognize we have the challenges of kids who don't feel like they have anywhere to go, we also at least have part of the student population that can't believe their luck that they're going to be able to be at a certain level and in a certain organization. And I think that helps us overall, helps us overall to have the broader. And sometimes those, certainly in the athletic programs that I know firsthand, those are some of the top students too. They're not, they're adding both athletically, but they're adding academically. So I really hope that we can build more and more of those programs. There's nothing that, except positive, that can come out of being the best in a lot of different areas and having a lot of diversity in our lives. I think one of the realities that we face is that our community is a rural community, and we are what we are. We have harsh winters, we have harsh weather, and frankly, we have harsh winds. And we know that, and so you have to know and be okay with that. And I agree with Michael's assessment of travel. I know being a high school administrator is hard to be on the road all the time to Denver, and yet you feel like if you're not there, you're not really representing your community organization, but then your organization feels like you're gone too much. So it is a strange balance, but one that I think we have to understand that our leaders can face.
I want to echo a little bit what Connie and Michelle have both said about Adams State maybe being a secondary choice for many of our students. As a student, Adams State wasn't my primary choice, but having decided to go to the school, which is literally 2 days before the academic year, I couldn't imagine going anywhere else. And I don't want another student to have to realize that just on a last-minute decision. Adams State has some amazing programs. We just need someone who's going to market that.
Thank you. So we often hear from students on the front range, for sure, it's just too cold. And I agree with Connie that we have to own it, that we can't change our weather. But I do believe that we can come up with some innovative ways to own cold. And there's some reason why we live here. Yeah, that's awesome. Yes.
This has been very, very helpful, I think, and it's focused in most of the discussion. This is going to give us a lot of information that we digesting as well as interviews, and giving you folks a good description, at least a draft of the job description. It gives us a flavor. I mean, I have a good sense of flavor as to this, but I think this is going to be extremely helpful for hope.
Well, let's talk about timelines a little bit, because you kind of alluded to it during the discussion, but I think make sure we're all on the same page. So you've got this one, you feel like you've got what you need to get started, right? So you're going to work with that. Hope's going to try and talk to Joe, get this all pulled together, and then you're going to provide us a proposed draft position description for classroom. And realistically, when do you think this group would be able to look at that?
Probably last June.
All right, first of June.
Yeah, not the first part of June, but the second part.
Second half of June, so not the end of June, the second half.
Yeah, second
Okay.
half.
All right.
And probably closer to not the end, but.
The last third.
Actually, yeah, the last third of June as opposed to the fourth.
So we'll all have a chance to look at that, and we want to get input from us, and then we'd like to get it announced by what July.
Right. That was one thing we wanted to, maybe, I don't know if we have a few minutes. We have a research strategy in terms of not so much our going on the direct calls and stuff like that, but in terms of advertising. Now, I'm not sure, just Payne might help here, but the last time I was involved in the search process, supposedly the advertisement had to be out so many days. Let me look on that. you looking at,
You mean.
it has to be posted, now if it's online, we're okay. No, I'm talking about, it has to be posted, you know, so many days, there's a time frame that has to be posted.
I mean, the announcement has to be out so many days before we make a decision. Is that what you're trying to answer your question?
Well, I'm trying to, yeah. I know, yeah, I know that there was a restriction, yeah, in the past.
Yeah, but we're not going to close till sometime fall. Yeah, I don't think this is a problem because we're not going to push this for a week.
Right.
I mean, we're going to put it out there and let it go for several weeks, months. And I suppose when we find the person that walks in the water, we can decide if we want to go further. But I think it's, again, bigger than that, we can, the better. So, so I'm just trying to think. So we're looking at early July to try and get this posted. So,
I have a kind of a question on that. I mean, in searches that I've done, you know, it seems to me like there's some sort of almost a shelf life from when you advertise, you get applicants in, to when you should be making a decision, versus when you start having some of those interested candidates drop off. Is there any, from your experience, I mean, if we closed in September, should we think by January we'd have someone come in? Is there a sense for that?
Well, the search committee has to have, what's the time frame?
You know, we're supposed to deliver the short list to the board of trustees by the first of the year. Now, if we get done earlier, swell. And if we need a little more time, I think there's probably a little room to play. But our charge is to get it, you know, by the first of the year.
And I would have to tell you that Hope is really responding very aggressive to the time frames and hopes to maybe even beat that time frame first year.
So to throw this point at timing, then they're going to get us a draft. And I want to be able to ship it out to everybody, have you react to it, get your comments. Do we think we can do that by email? Or do we need to have, you know, this kind of face-to-face thing? I mean, speaking, someone has to drive from Denver, email makes great sense to me, but I know there's a different dynamic when you're able to look at people and talk.
So would it be acceptable? I mean, we kind of, as a faculty staff group, we've met a few times developing the survey. Would that be acceptable to get in an email and we can just kind of collectively get together and react to it? Like, you know, being sensitive of the legal issues.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have an open records issue.
I mean, and most of what we do is comes back to the table anyway. I don't think anything is being edited, nothing's being.
It makes sense that, I mean, I don't think Paul, you and Jessica, and I'm not even sure Cam if you need to be in, but it seems we have a really good video conferencing facility here at all people in the sense and see face to face each other. You could go into the video conferencing facility at DU or place like that. That was not. That might be a someone should share.
You're saying the face-to-face problem.
Generationally, it's more useful for me.
Okay, all right. And we'll do this then, latter part of June, early July, rather than waiting to go and get around as quickly as possible. If we did a, somebody's going to do some of that. Okay. If we set something for the end, would a Monday like we did here work? It helps me be able to travel on Sunday. And how would Monday morning work versus afternoon?
So real quick question, I accidentally got disconnected, so I had to recall in. Is this discussion for another meeting on the job description? Maybe I'm completely ready to be earlier.
Yeah, we're talking about having another meeting to go over the job description.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, for me, a day in should look for on Monday.
Okay, I will try and, like I did before, send out an email on that. And then I think our next regular meeting might be in July. I'll send out emails just to kind of let everybody know. And I think after this kind of period, once we get the announcement out, it's on its way, then we can go back to what was my original plan, which is to try and meet in conjunction with the Board of Trustees meeting. So that's the last week of August, and the second weekend of October. So go ahead.
Mornings are more difficult than teaching in the summer. A lot of classes are scheduled in the morning hours, although they're throughout the day. But, so by June, I'm teaching 8 to 11.
Okay.
How about June, Monday, June 23rd in the afternoon? I think that's right. As opposed to the last, you think it was going to happen that Monday?
Well, I was thinking that, but I guess it depends on how we are all. I don't want to schedule a meeting and have to kick it yet, this time, so. But maybe you can leave it open, make sure that you're ready.
But just let you know, I'm out of town again in the June 29th and the first 2 weeks of July, but certainly just.
Yeah, I think
It's gonna be
I think it probably the, how many people would be available on June 23rd?
Monday, June 23rd.
All right. So, I'll stay in touch with her and see, maybe we'll do Monday the 23rd. Like I said, I don't want to schedule it for sure and have us schedule.
I would just also add that if you wanted to call in or we wanted to do something this meeting differently, I'm certainly open to a different format if you want to be for everybody.
Well, I think we're going to try to do work to try and get a video conference the next time. All right. Last item, and I've been running up against it. Is there any public comment?
Yeah.
Please, just you go up there and it's right there, the microphone. Like
We were talking about.
if you could go to the microphone, the lectern, please. Thank you. Thank you. And then just give your name so we have.
My name is Nancy Martinez, and I graduated with my BA and my MA here at Penn State. We were talking about new programs. There was something that I think is very important that was left out, and that is the idea of the new Latino Studies program, which is getting some work done now. I know there are some classes being offered. There's the Latino class by Ben Waddell that is being offered. A Spanish class also. I'm not sure of the Hispanic studies. And there is the English Institute every summer. So I think this is an area for growth and that there would be good chances for good recruitment if you build on the Latino studies program.
That's right, we don't have a Latino studies monitor.
We also have the SLB Lifeways class. So there are some things that are being done.
Thank you. Anything else to give of the order? All right, thanks so much for coming. We'll be in touch. We're adjourned.
Sure.